Moneypoint is unveiling a new personal banking app, as well as a card that works. And that's not all. For a limited time, thousands of prizes are waiting to be won during the Moneypoint weekly games. This week, even more prizes await you. 15,000 people will win 2,000 naira each. The grand prize is getting bigger too. One lucky winner will grab 3 million naira. To participate, download the Moneypoint personal banking app, set up your account, and fund it. Request for your card and collect coins by using your account for daily transactions. Now, once you've done these, just tap the game banner in the app and spin the wheel. And you could become a millionaire, just like that. The more you transact, the greater your chance of winning 2,000 naira or 3 million naira. Don't miss out. Download the Moneypoint personal banking app, because it's banking on point. Terms and conditions apply.
For many years, we have secured and beautified your buildings with all security doors. And now, introducing Watson Time German, Israeli, and Turkish doors. Visit any of our factories, reach our distributors nationwide. Think doors. Think Watson Time doors.
The National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS, in conjunction with the leadership of the National Assembly, Senate, and House of Representatives, is organizing a retreat for leadership of the 10th National Assembly, Senate, and House of Representatives, a platform for former and serving presiding officers of the National Assembly to share experiences and foster collaboration towards effective legislative work. To be declared open by the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. Chief hosts, President of the Senate, Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, CON, and Speaker, House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, PhD. Date 22nd, 23rd September 2023. Venue, 4 Points Hotel, Ikotepene, Akwa Ibom State. Time, 9 a.m. daily. Professor Abubakar O. Suleiman, Director General, NILS, Announcer.
Politicians make lofty campaign promises, but do they really fulfill them? Are you worried about the quality of governance? Do you know how to hold your public officers and politicians accountable? As a Nigerian, do you even know your rights? Many questions begging for answers, but don't you worry. We've got you covered. We bring you Democracy 101 in 5, your reliable and easy-to-digest guide on citizens' rights, government's responsibilities, rule of law, holding government accountable, and all things democracy. Democracy is more than elections. The real essence of democracy is what plays out after the elections. Democracy is about making government work for you. Watch Democracy 101 every weekday at 7:55 p.m. and Sundays at 8:55 p.m. on Channels Television. Democracy 101 in 5 is an initiative of Yaga Africa with support of the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, FCDO.
Just Nigeria cares about the things you care about.
I'm young, I'm a Muslim, I'm Hausa.
With many more perspectives.
I'm a health systems consultant,
project manager,
IT expert.
Whether visiting tech startups, education hubs,
or on the ground,
get informed opinions, trusted analysis.
Cash is an anti-cashless policy.
And most importantly, get to the gist of the news that matters most to you.
Just Nigeria, from the BBC and Channels Television, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. and online too.
Welcome back to the program. We're still in Onjo State, where the State Assembly has begun impeachment proceedings on Deputy Governor Mr. Lucky Aiyedatiwa. We still have with us Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Ebolu Adegboruwa, and the spokesperson of the Onjo State House of Assembly, Honorable Olatunji Oshati, who's been telling us exactly what is going on. Honorable Oshati, we lost you for a moment there just before we went on break, and I'd like you to frontally respond to this point that has been made time and again, that just how involved is Governor Akeredolu in all of this? Right. Looks like that connection is still shaking, but we'll get back to Honorable Oshati. Let me come back to you, Senior Advocate. Well, he has said, he has agreed with you on some points, at least the allegations and the next line of action. So are you taking this to court? Is this in court already? And what kind of effect will the court process or an eventual pronouncement have on the proceedings in the State Assembly? Again, separation of power come into play here?
Thank you very much, Kaude. You will notice that Honorable Shafi did not specifically state any issue of misconduct. And I'm talking misconduct. Then you talk about gross misconduct. There's no misconduct, how much less gross misconduct. He talked about 300 million naira. And I explained to you. And I'm challenging anybody to produce any document that shows that 1 million naira was approved by the deputy governor when he was acting to purchase vehicle. There's nothing like that. And I've thrown that challenge, and I expected that. Because you cannot just use the process of the House of Assembly for the purpose of stoking a crisis in a state. That's number one. Number two, he talked about misappropriation. That means misappropriation means that maybe money is meant for one thing, and then you use it for another. The allegation raised by the House of Assembly was that the deputy governor, when he was acting, approved 300 million naira allegedly from palliative fund for the purchase of armored vehicle for himself. It doesn't exist. During the period when the deputy governor acted as acting governor, it was the Honorable Commissioner for Finance that was the chairman of the palliative committee for Onjo State. So the deputy governor had no access to palliative funds, and he could not have diverted money. The other allegation stated by Honorable Shafi was that the acting governor tried to impeach the governor, tried to divide the executive council. Amicade is totally laughable, with all due respect to the Honorable. I don't think in my widest imagination that a House of Assembly of Onjo State will busy itself with this kind of mundane allegation that the deputy was trying to impeach. Where would the impeachment take place other than the House of Assembly? How many members of House of Assembly received any lobbying or information? And you recall some 4 days ago, the House of Assembly of Onjo State, through his speaker, came out openly denying that there was any move to impeach the speaker. When the governor went on medical leave in June this year, there was also the allegation that the speaker was to be impeached so that another person would be elected as speaker and then the deputy governor would be impeached. So I'm saying that it's been in the pipeline, this lobbying for the purpose of removing the deputy governor. It's been in the pipeline, and I see no reason for it because there is no basis at all, either in law or in fact. He's talking about emotion. And that emotion carried is that it was alleged that the deputy governor, through his aide, published an obituary of His Excellency. How can anybody do that? Can we play God? Like I told you, go to Onjo State. Everybody was praying for His Excellency to return safely. And everybody was happy and jubilating. So why will he get back and gladiators who want to put themselves in positions of power for the next election are the one dividing the state? And there's no basis for that at all. And I'm glad that Honorable Shafi cannot tell you any specific instance of any misappropriation other than this alleged 300 million naira, which does not exist at all. So for us, the process will be that if this is true, that indeed is purely political, then there's no basis for that process to go on because it's an abuse of the Constitution. When we were drafting the Constitution, gross misconduct in our own estimation is something so grave as in when you hear it, your ears will tingle. But not beer parlor rumor of the acting governor wanting to impeach the governor. How can that be? Well, does he have such power?
Let's take this
or
Honorable
that he was
Ashati
publishing
now.
obituary. Did you see such obituary?
So let's take this to Honorable Ashati. You've listened to the senior advocate saying gross misconduct should be something major. Give us an insight into the allegations. Are they really that major beyond the ones you have mentioned? Are they really gross to warrant impeachment, Honorable?
Thank you so much. When you talk about misappropriation, is misappropriation not gross? Misappropriation of funds. The onus is on him to prove to the House that all these allegations are false. And we've told him, when you are in possession of petitions, it is our duty, we are duty bound as a legislator to do our job. We are not wishing anybody. I must tell you today, the senior advocate mentioned some of the allegations. And he said misappropriation of 30 million. misplacement of funds. They are not gross violation of the Constitution. It depends on how he wants to prove it. But what we are saying now is for the deputy governor to give us reply to all these allegations within 7 days. We are human beings, and definitely.
Well, it's been a real struggle with the connection there, having this fluid conversation with Honorable Oshati. But let's wind down on this. Looks like definitely we'll be following through this in the coming days. But I was asking you, Senior Advocate, earlier on about the options available now. Going to court, what will be the import of this? Whether this process can be reversed by the court?
Well, surely, Kaude, I mean, when a process like that has commenced, it will be important for us to ask the judiciary to interpret these allegations, whether they exist in fact at all. Like I told you, before I will ever come on air, I have done some investigations, and I discovered they don't exist at all. So it will be up to the deputy governor to be able to exercise his right in law, to challenge the process and ask the House of Assembly to bring those allegations before the court. Because you cannot just sit down and trump up charges. So you bring them before the court and show the whole world whether indeed money was appropriated, whether indeed gross misconduct happened, whether indeed efforts were made to impeach the governor when he was away on medical leave. If those things do not exist at all, either in law or in fact, and I'm sure our judiciary will have no difficulty in intervening in that process to ensure that there's no abuse of Constitution. But I just wanted to inform Honorable Shafi and indeed our colleagues in the House of Assembly in Onjo State. Kaude, please go to Onjo State. There is a law which we passed. It's called the Onjo State Oil Producing Minerals Commission, or SOPADEC law. Because as an oil-producing state, Onjo State is entitled to 13% derivation from the federation account. And that money should go to the two local governments that are producing oil. That is Ilaje local government and Ilaje Seldo. So it was a general consensus that in order to develop other parts of the state, that 30% should be divided into two. 60% will go to those oil-producing areas, while 40% will go to the other areas of the state. As I speak to you, there's no electricity in any of those areas. There's no judiciary, there's no court, there's no pipe-borne water, there's no good road. So I think that the House of Assembly should be involved in its oversight functions to, for instance, find out whether the law passed by that House is being implemented. Clearly, there's work to be done, Senior Advocate, but we have to anchor at this point. We'll still keep our eyes on the development. We'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Ebolu Adigboruwa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for your time, as well as Honorable Oshati, who joined us virtually this evening. He's a spokesperson of the Onjo State House of Assembly. Gentlemen, thank you again for your time. Well, let's switch gears now on the program. Thank you very much for... Right. We'll switch gears now and talk about the policy of President Bola Tinubu, one that affects you and I and all Nigerians, even beyond. Nigerians today woke up to reports that subsidy may just be back, after all, being paid for through the NNPCL. Recall that the president in his inaugural speech had made the announcement that subsidy is gone. Well, the report cited a Federal Account Allocation Committee report which gave details on that. But some say it was obvious anyway for anyone who has been paying close attention to the recent trade. So let's get more insight on the program tonight. We have joining us Mr. Oluseun Winibide, who is the Director of Budget, and Mr. Kalu Aja, a financial analyst. Gentlemen, it's good to have you on the program. You know, both of you know how to look at the numbers, and for a lot of people who have been watching the price of crude oil in the international market, the price of crude in Nigeria, and of course the price of petrol over the past weeks, they've been raising questions about the state of subsidy. You know the figures, you've monitored them. Tell us, I'll begin with you, Mr. Onibide, is it back?
Yeah, subsidy is back. If you put all the numbers to play, definitely. We are having oil prices above $90 per barrel. The exchange rate is around 60 if you adjust for a parallel market, because that's where most people would rather be able to get FX on a quick run. That's around 950. So if you put all the mathematics together in any way, it shows that fuel prices should be retailing for around 850 naira per litre. So they're what, 620, 630, whatever we're doing right now. NMPC or the independent marketers are selling at a discount. So first subsidy, in my own view, is back. So that the government is just honest about it. And there are two controlling factors here, I mean, for fuel subsidy. One is the price of crude. The second one is the exchange rate that you have, so that you are going to use to buy the crude. Both of them have been liberalized in quote, and they are running a liberal market. I mean, you don't have control over oil prices. Your exchange rate, you have left it at some certain level. You've allowed it to float. So definitely consequences like this are going to show up at the end of the day.
It's very interesting, gentlemen, and I'd like to show you part of a statement which was released by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Committee, that's RAMFAC. And, you know, it's a quote, the statement released by the chairman of RMAFC, Mohammed Shehu. And this is part of what the statement said. It was a statement that reviewed the activities across board over a period of time. And it says that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's NNPCL, did not remit any amount into the Federation account during the period, either as profit revenue or other revenues as contained in the PIA. Goes on to say that its revenue performance could also not be assessed because neither its revenue target was disclosed nor its revenue remittance to the Federation account was provided. That's part of the statement that was put out yesterday. And let's break this down even further. So we have that even RAMFAC probing it. There's also a FAC statement that has been referenced across board. Is the return of the reintroduction of subsidy, is it necessarily a bad thing? Don't forget that Labour had said that government should not increase, or at least the prices of petrol should not go up further, that it's killing the masses. So is it really a bad thing, Mr. Onibide?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but we have to be honest about implications of what we have done. Definitely, we know that increasing fuel prices would create untold hardship on the citizens. That is a matter of fact. For us, the problem with fuel subsidy is the corruption in there. I've always been an advocate for fuel subsidy removal because it's the most sustainable thing to do. When at the point, Nigeria, at the scale of the fuel subsidy, paying 4 trillion, paying 6 trillion, we used excess crude account to pay for fuel subsidy. We borrowed to pay for a subsidy. We took Euro bonds to pay for a subsidy. Recently, even based on the Daily Trust report, it was part of the LNG dividends that was used in paying for a subsidy. It's just horrendous that every point that we should have used to save has been used for fuel subsidy, according to an NPC, for numbers that were not starting off, for numbers that nobody has been able to properly audit. So that's corruption. Has always been my problem. It looks like the government is not able to tackle it. Now we are back into that rabbit hole because we already now see that the answers on the other side are not clear. My own perception is the government can look at the exchange rate. The exchange rate is the biggest problem here. Even if our prices are retailing at $90 per barrel, but if marketers are importing, maybe at a much more competitive exchange rate, maybe that would make things much more easier. But the return to first of is not something I like at all, because we've shown over time that this cost can look as small as 160 billion this month. It can go to 400 billion without answers next month. That is the problem I have with first subsidy. It's created a whole conduit for corruption, for inefficiency. And as long as you continue to run in that single line, you are not going to get out of that logjam. That's my problem with it.
So let me go to Mr. Aja now. And I know you've said quite some things about this on X, and it's generated a lot of reaction, really. And this is coming at a time when the president, in the UN General Assembly had spoken about, the removal of subsidy and how it had to be done such that there can be confidence in the system. So in terms of the optics, Mr. Aja, what do you see? I hope you can hear me, Mr. Aja.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's pretty clear. The president said no new price hikes. So once he said that, we were locked into a price. And then the Saudis and the Russians have basically reduced output. So prices have gone up to about $99, $98 a barrel. So what that means is that we're going to subsidize the difference between what the price was when he announced that and what the price is today. So the issue is it a temporary or a permanent subsidy? That's what we don't know now, because it's nothing on policy. It was introduced without a policy. It's been managed without a policy document. There's no document from the federal government saying the subsidy is back or has been reduced. Nothing. We don't have anything. So we don't know if it's temporary or permanent. But the subsidy is back. And what is most annoying, or should we say most disappointing, is that we're taking it from the dividends that should go to the federation from LNG that's supposed to be reinvested to trains and to expand the account of that sector. So we're eating our fruits for tomorrow to consume today. There is nothing wrong with the subsidy. We simply can't afford it. That's just it. We simply cannot afford a subsidy right now.
So what is the alternative really? Because a lot of people, well, might not be able to put themselves in the shoes of government. So is the alternative to have a nationwide shutdown? Don't forget, Labour has been clamoring for a hold today, saying it must not go further. In fact, Labour says the government should revert to the previous price. So really, it's like a very tricky situation for government. How do you expect government to act right now?
There are smart ways to implement a subsidy. We have BVN. We have NIN. We are paying the subsidy at the ports. We should rather pay the subsidy at the pumps. And it's pretty simple. Go to the road safety, register your car, get your BVN, get an NIN, and the government will then do a means test and say, if you pay tax below this level, we can give you a subsidized 5,000, 10,000 a month, paid as e-Naira to your NIN-enabled phone secured by BVN. Once you do this, you can allow the price go wherever it can go to. But the government is going to subsidize specific people secured by biometrics that it knows. So that way you don't have to worry or chase anyone. Export the expensive gas. But in Nigeria, you can pay with e-Naira to pumps via your NIN-enabled phone. So the guys in Cameroon can't get a subsidy because their phone's tower will ping in Cameroon. So we can use tech and do a subsidy to a class of income earners in Nigeria. And then that way we solve the situation. Everyone should not enjoy, quote unquote, cheap fuel. But subsidy must go to who needs it, which is the very, very bottom, the poor, the vulnerable. They can't pay full price for PMS and all that. So have a tiered system. The normal, quote unquote, folks should pay whatever market price it is, but the government must subsidize the lower level. Then if you do it that way, you answer the NLC side and you also answer the market side. That's what we need to do.
Okay, gentlemen, let's wind down on this, because for the policy direction of this government, subsidy one of it, foreign exchange is another major one, which we're seeing the effect, almost 1,000 naira now. And just today, it turned out that the CBN would not be holding its MPC meeting as scheduled. It's meant to be the 298th Monetary Policy Committee meeting as scheduled for the 25th and the 26th. It's been moved indefinitely. And you know how vital the MPC is in trying to at least control inflation and in monetary policy. So let's wind down on this, gentlemen. What do you expect the Tinubu government to do in terms of policies when it comes to tightening or what have you, the monetary policy? What do you expect the decision to be? I'll start from Mr. Onibide as we wind down on this. It's a major one that came out today.
I think let's look at the state of CBN today. There is no clarity, which is also one of the most unfortunate positions now. I mean, the previous guys, are they officially out? The new guys, when do they get in? I mean, those are the questions. You cannot run a CBN governor, a CBN like a private parastatal or like just another government establishment. This is the signal to the economy, you know. And so for me, not even holding an MPC meeting is a shame. I mean, it shows that there's a lack of clarity, there's lack of understanding about what exactly the way you should position your economy. You can't go to New York and make good statements and try and talk to investors, and people look at your monetary side and say that it's not cohesive. Who is in charge of CBN? Nobody can answer that question now. So that's for me the biggest even problem, because at the end of the day, whatever the CBN is doing with NPC rates adjustment is not working. You're increasing interest rates where it's not working. Maybe can chime in also. Yeah.
Let's get Mr. Aja's final words on this one. We have to wrap up now. Mr. Aja.
Well, the CBN tracks inflation. Inflation in Nigeria is caused by high food prices. You can't use monetary means to bring down the price of food. So they have to stop hiking and focus on getting the price of food down. So tightening is not going to solve the problem. We need to increase the supply of food, which is 51% of the CPI. That's what's driving inflation. I think Shinwo has talked about that we don't have a board. The largest economy in Africa does not have a CBN board. That's crazy. We need to target food, even if it means a limited import. 6 months to get the food price down, consider it. We need to buy time and tighten. No tightening for now. Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules to speak on this matter. Mr. Olusegun Onigude, I know you've been attending events on the sidelines of ONGA, as well as Mr. Kalu Aja. Thank you for the insight on the program this evening.
No pleasure. Thank you so much, Kayode.
You're welcome.
Well, the government has a lot to deal with, but we have to anchor at this point on the program tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikulu. Good night.
Action with Betano, your exciting destination for thrilling sports betting. Enjoy an award-winning experience with amazing betting options, cash out, and missions, as well as other features. Join now and get a welcome bonus of up to 100,000 Naira. Betano.ng. The game starts now.
Toothpaste, Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection.
Why are we changing our toothpaste?
Because with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, I can be sure your teeth are cavity-free.
When you brush daily with Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, its expert formula locks natural calcium in our teeth and helps protect them from cavity. Colgate is the world's most chosen toothpaste.
Colgate locks calcium in,
keeps cavities out.
The new Colgate Mini Pack is now available at just 300 Naira.